What's up, my piano friends? Zach Evans here. Today we're going to learn piano chords from beginner level 1 all the way to level 5. And I'm going to show you how you can use these chords to play your favorite songs from the radio. In fact, if you can promise me right now to stick around all the way to the end of the video, I guarantee you will be playing a famous piano song from the radio, even if you're a complete beginner. And it's way easier and faster to learn this way as opposed to using complicated sheet music. All right, let's get started. All right, so level 1 is simple major and minor chords. So major chords are chords that sound happy and bright, and minor chords are chords that sound dark and sad. So here's some examples of major chords. So we have G major looks like this. Simply copy the shape above. Then we have C major looks like this. And D major looks like this. And so if you want to write a song that sounds bright and happy, you have to use a lot of major chords like these three. Sound something like this. It gives it a very bright, happy sound. Now, on the other hand, if you want to write a song that sounds more dark and sad, you'd use a lot of minor chords. So here are some examples of minor chords. We have B minor, E minor, again, just copy the shape, and F sharp minor. And so a song using a lot of minor chords is going to sound more dark and sad like this. By the way, don't worry about memorizing all these chords. Later on in the video, I'm going to have a cheat sheet with all of the major and minor chords you'll ever need, so you can just stick it on your piano and have every chord right at your fingertips. But first, let's move on to level 2, which is chord progressions. Now, this concept is very simple. A chord progression is simply a group of chords that's typically repeated over and over and over to make up a song. So basically, it's like the formula for a song. So for example, here's a chord progression: E minor, C major, G major, and D major. And if we repeat these same 4 chords over and over, we have the formula for the song All of Me by John Legend.
What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out. You got my head spinning, no kidding, I can't pin you down.
And most popular songs out there have 3 or 4 chords that simply repeat over and over and over. So for example, Ed Sheeran Perfect is just these 4 chords repeated over and over. Here's the formula: G major, E minor, C major, and D major. And now you can play.
And I found a love for me. Darling, just dive right in and follow my lead. And I found a girl.
And so on and so forth. And so to play any popular song, all you have to do is find the 3 or 4 chords that make up that song's chord progression, aka the song's formula, and you can almost instantly play any song on piano. But before you go on and start learning songs, level 3 chord voicings is gonna make it 10 times easier to learn. But first, if you're starting to get excited about learning your favorite songs from the radio, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps out the channel and I'd really appreciate it. All right, on to level 3 chord voicings. So to explain this, let's take our G major chord. So again, it's gonna be G, B, and D. And again, I'll have these chords on the cheat sheet for you later on. Now, a voicing just means we can play these notes G, B, and D in any order, anywhere on the keyboard, and it still counts as a G major chord. So instead of G, B, D, right, we could play G, B, D, and that still counts as a G major chord. Or we could play G, B, D, and that's a G major chord as well. Or we could play G, D, B, D, G, that's a G major chord. Or we could play B, G, B, that's a G major chord as well. So as long as it just contains the 3 notes G, B, and D, any of these are G major chords. So if you were writing a song, maybe you'd start the verse up here at G, B, D. And then maybe for the chorus, maybe you'd come down to G, D, G, B, D, G. So So again, these are all G major chords. They're just different voicings of G major chords. It's the same notes played in a different order. But what are the best chord voicings to use? Well, that's what we're gonna cover in level 4 close chords theory. And it's a little secret that the pros use all the time in songs. So to explain this, let's go back to our song, All of Me by John Legend. And let me show the exact chord voicings that he uses in the song, and you're gonna see why this is perfect for beginners. So you can see the chord progression up here, and he starts off with an E minor chord. Now the next chord is a C major chord. But John Legend said, hey, that's too much work moving my hand all the way from E minor down to C major. I want to make it easier, okay? So he took this C major chord, and instead of playing C, E, G, he just played C, E, G, right? The same notes in a different voicing. So now we can go from E minor to the new voicing of C major, and look how easy this is. E minor to C major. In fact, these two notes stay exactly the same in both chords. You only have to change this top note from the B to the C. Way easier, and it actually sounds smoother too. Then after our C major chord, the next chord is G major. But instead of jumping his hand way up here to the G major, he said, let's make this easier, okay? Instead of playing G, B, D, let's play G, B, D down here. And now when we move from C major to G major, it's very easy. It's very close together. And so now we have this same chord progression just with John Legend's voicing, and it makes it way easier to play because your hand barely has to move. So it's gonna look like this: E minor, C major, G major, D major. And now let me play both ways and let me know in the comments which one sounds better. So first of all, if we don't use chord voicings and we just use basic chords, it's gonna sound like this.
What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out.
And with John Legend's chord voicings, it's gonna sound like this.
What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out.
See how the first version doesn't sound bad? It sounds all right, it's just a bit amateur, all right? And then the second version not only sounds smoother, but it's actually easier to learn because the chords are closer together. Now, this specific chord voicing strategy is called close chords because you use voicings that are very close to each other. And I highly recommend, if you're a beginner, you stick with these close chords. It's way, way, way easier to learn songs this way. And it actually sounds better in most circumstances. And so on page 3 of the cheat sheet, I actually have every single chord diagrammed out using the perfect voicings so that no matter what the chords are in the song, they're always gonna be as close to each other as possible. And I'll have that cheat sheet download for you later in the video. All right, so up next, we got level 5 money patterns, and these are what make your level go from, oh, he can play the song to, wow, that dude can really play, all right? But before that, if you like this simple and in-depth style of teaching, hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on any future lessons. Now on to everybody's favorite part, money patterns. And in simple terms, money patterns just means playing these same chords in different patterns to make them sound cool. All right, so there's 3 basic types. There are straight money patterns, syncopated money patterns, and arpeggiated money patterns. So if we put our chords for All of Me back on the screen, first we have our straight money pattern. And all that means is if we snap 1, 2, 3, 4, our chords are just gonna line up exactly with the snaps. So it's gonna sound like this.
What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out.
So with the straight money pattern, it still sounds good, but it sounds a little bit basic. So number 2, we can use a syncopated money pattern, and that's what John Legend actually uses in the real song. And so in simple terms, all that means is that some of the chords match up with the snaps and some don't. All right, some of the chords we're gonna play a little before the snap or a little after the snap. So listen and see if you can hear it. 1. See how some of those chords were played a little before or a little bit after the snap? And that's gonna give it a more jazzy, a more kind of cool feel to it. And so with syncopated money patterns, you can play any rhythm you want as long as you think it sounds good with the song. So for example, we could play something like this. Or we could play something like this. and you can literally just make up whatever you want. And the easiest way to find a good syncopated money pattern is honestly to kind of just jam out to the music, really feel it, and feel what you think sounds good with the song. All right, and the last money pattern we got is the arpeggiated money patterns, and these are definitely a bit more challenging. But man, if you get this skill down pat, people are gonna be like, whoa, this dude can play, wow. So arpeggiated money patterns simply mean we play these same notes in the chord, but instead of playing them all at the same time like this, we play these same notes one at a time, something like this. So for example, we could play these repeating, going up sounds like this. Or we could play them repeating going down, sounds like this. Or we could just make up our own pattern. So watch how cool this can sound in the song.
What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out.
Man, this just has such a beautiful sound to it. Imagine playing this at a party and just watching all the hearts melt. All right, so now let's get you the cheat sheet download to make sure you have all these chords right at your fingertips to learn any song. So all you got to do is click the link in this video or in the description, put in your name and email, hit submit, and you can download your cheat sheet right here. And then in the next video, we're going to learn 4 of your favorite songs from the radio using these chords along with the exact money patterns that I use. Or if you want to master the nerdy music theory behind how all these chords work, click this video instead.